My ex-husband, 35, and I, 29 female, have been married for 10 years. He was the only child of an elderly couple. I've taken care of his mother for my entire marriage since she needed a caretaker. 5 years ago, I found out he was cheating. We had signed a prenup that said we would leave with the assets we had entered the marriage with. I didn't have a full-time job because I had to take care of his mother. I didn't get a salary for my caretaking, but I spent my entire marriage taking care of her and her various health issues. It didn't have a clause against cheating. I spoke to a couple of lawyers, and they said that even if the prenup is thrown out, which it may or may not be, depending on the judge, my husband has an inheritance from his father and can afford to bleed me dry in court. However, the prenup had a 10-year clause. I stayed for another 5 years and let him believe I had no idea of his side piece. Some people choose to stay and reconcile. I decided to stay and make sure I didn't get screwed over. I filed for divorce after 10 years of marriage, and my husband was blindsided. The assets were split down the middle, and I was essentially compensated for my caretaking. He's calling me cruel and calculating for what I did. He's also scrambling because there's no one left to care for his ailing mother. I told him to use his inheritance to buy her a caretaker that she can't take advantage of and abuse. Now I have a boyfriend, and I'm really happy with my life, but I still get messages from my ex-husband blaming me. Am I the idiot for staying in a marriage for 10 years to make sure I got alimony? 1,000 times not the idiot. He had no problem using you as a free care worker, which denied you income and any retirement savings to save himself money for hiring a professional for his mother. Further, he placed that care on you and gave you room and board in return. Some people get paid weekly. Some get paid at the end of the job. Your job got crappy, but at least you got paid. Karma's my boyfriend. Taylor Swift, ma'am. I applaud you. Maybe the mistress can be his mom's caretaker. Absolutely. It's unfair for someone to take advantage of your kindness by using you as a free caregiver without acknowledging the significant impact on your income and retirement savings. It's commendable that you took on such a responsibility, but expecting you to shoulder that burden without proper compensation is not right. My only thought is, how will P carried on for 5 years, completely fooling the guy? That is stellar on her part. Oscar-worthy. LOL. It looks like the ex is not the sharpest tool in the shed. OP, you got compensated for time served. A question for your husband is, was it also calculated when arranging meetups with his mistress because he knew his wife would be busy with his mother? Honey, you played his game and won. He's just mad that he couldn't have his cake and eat it too, because now he can't be a married single guy with no care and responsibilities. He needs to look after his mother and do what you were doing. Let him stew while you move on, and let his mistress deal with his crying fits. And don't marry the new boyfriend. Drain that alimony. Everyone's the idiot here. I just think it's a waste of one's 20s to stick around with a cheating partner that you know you'll divorce. OP, I mean, you aren't a saint because he cheated and stuff. I don't think this is the win you think it is. You wasted your 20s. Time is worth more than any amount of money. Also, I fundamentally disagree with being entitled to be paid to take care of my family. You were married, so his family became yours. My wife, Ann, and I have been married for several years. We were high school sweethearts. We were having a rough patch in our marriage, and I suggested doing some fun bonding activities to get the spark back. She agreed but kept complaining about the activities. We went camping, and she developed a full-body rash. She ended up going to the hospital with sepsis after she came into contact with some bad bacteria. My friend Seth came to drive us to the hospital, and he stayed with her when we both got checked out. I got sick too, and Seth checked up on Ann daily because I asked him to. The meds and the infection made her a bit delirious, and she kept asking for Seth, which is funny because she didn't like him before. She wanted him to stay for hours a day, and he did. She's recovered for about 3 weeks now, and still calls up Seth if she needs to go to the hospital or even just wants a friend to talk to. We found that excessive, and I told him to hang up on her or block her. He said he wouldn't do that because it was rude, and he can see why our marriage is failing. That was really uncalled for, in my opinion. Am I the idiot? I was just offering suggestions. Edit. She tripped and cut her leg, and we tried to wash the wound out with water, but I guess our filtered water bottle didn't do the job. You've got to be kidding me with this one. When I read that she was complaining about camping, I thought, okay, I can see that would be annoying since you're already camping and don't want more complaints on top of it. But when I read she was hospitalized with a full body rash and sepsis, which could have killed her, dude, I agree with Seth. I see why your marriage is falling apart. Hint, it's you, and you are the idiot. Great way to get tetanus. Looks like you did a really poor job preparing for the camping trip if you didn't even have a simple first aid kit. And how long did you write off her complaints about camping before you went to the hospital? You don't go from feeling fine to needing a hospital that quickly. How long did you write off the rash before taking it seriously? This isn't a tale of, oops, all Seth now. This is a tale of neglect until someone actually cared about her. Sepsis is no joke, and it's disturbing how OP seems to not care about his wife's health. Pal, your marriage is most likely over. Your wife almost died. Seth was there with her. You weren't. They bonded over the experience. She prefers his company to yours. Oh, I wonder why. And here you are, doing your best to destroy their friendship, not to improve yourself, not to work on your relationship with her. Apparently, not even communicating with her, just going behind her back and trying to destroy the relationship, which you see as competition, no matter what impact that might have on your wife. Yes, I see why your marriage is failing. You're not going to save it by isolating her from other guys. I, 27 male, have a sister, Alexis, 25, and a fiancée, Sophie, 26 female. Alexis gave birth to my nephew last year. She wasn't with the baby's father, so she's always known that she'd be raising the baby on her own for the most part. The father comes around to look at the baby and leave. He pays child support, but they agreed on the amount themselves before the baby even got here, and that amount is not nearly enough to raise a child. When Alexis was 2 weeks postpartum, she said she was having it hard and couldn't do this on her own anymore. Our parents' house is full because our other siblings still live there, so she can't go there. She asked if she could come and stay with me for a few weeks till she recovers and finds her footing with motherhood. Initially, I thought there was no way Sophie would be willing to host Alexis and the baby for an indefinite amount of time, but Sophie said she felt horrible for Alexis and would feel guilty if we didn't do all we could to help her. So Alexis moved in, nearly 10 months ago now. Neither of us expected her to stay this long. Still, whenever we'd discuss with Alexis whether she was planning on finding a place and going back to work, she'd rant about how hard motherhood is and how she couldn't fathom adding something else to her plate. Don't get me wrong, I understand her. My nephew is very fussy and doesn't sleep well, but Sophie and I cannot keep living like this. We've had to adjust every aspect of our lives to accommodate her and my nephew. We live in a one-bedroom apartment, so we set up a bed and everything else in the living room for them. She asked us to put up a curtain so she could at least get some privacy, and we did. So we haven't had a living room for 10 months. We've been eating, relaxing, and everything else in our bedroom. We can't cook or get a snack when the baby's asleep because only a curtain separates them in the kitchen. We considered giving her and my nephew the bedroom, but Sophie works from home, and her entire work setup is in our room. She can't take work calls in the living room where someone might interrupt her. Anyway, I could go on and on about how horrible this living arrangement has been, but we'll be here all night. I sat Alexis down and asked her whether or not she was making a solid plan to get a job and move out soon. She said she could never afford to pay rent if she worked part-time. We brainstormed ideas, but nothing was good enough for her. Eventually, I told her that she needed to start looking for a solution because this has gone on long enough. I said I'd help in any way I could, but it's been almost a year of this, and we cannot carry on like this. She says she won't make enough to pay rent, bills, and daycare as a single mom. I suggested that she get more child support from the dad and take him to court if he refuses. She wasn't fond of the idea because she thought it would make him not want to see his son, and she didn't want her son to grow up without his father. I told her if she doesn't want to take any of my suggestions, but also not think of any herself, that I'm giving her an ultimatum to get a job and move out in 4 months. She said that isn't enough time, and I'm basically kicking them both out into the streets. I said that I would help her in any way that I could, but I wanted to move on with my life and my fiancé, and I couldn't do that with the current situation. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She needs to apply for government benefits and take her sperm donor to court so she can try to get on her feet. You've been overly accommodating in a taxing living situation, especially when neither you nor your partner are the parents. She's taken advantage of the situation. If she didn't have you, you can bet your butt she'd be working on getting herself together. Give her the website and phone numbers, which honestly she should do herself, and tell her to get cracking. She can't hold your love hostage forever. Honestly, I'm unsure what she can do to get out of this situation. It doesn't sound like any job she could get would pay enough to cover her own living cost, never mind with a baby on top of it. Child support needs to go up, yes, but unless baby daddy makes significantly more, it's probably not going to even cover childcare. She's screwed and should never have had a baby with this guy. She's totally unprepared financially. She can go back to her family home, but doesn't want to because they will also push her to get real child support, court-ordered. She continually makes bad choices. I'll probably get bashed for saying this. If she can't support the child herself and won't take the baby to court for child support, maybe the best option for the baby is to give the baby up for adoption. Give the child an opportunity to have a loving family and a good life. I agree with you, though I was thinking she should have given the baby up for adoption right after his birth. That kid is already growing up without a father. What difference would it make if she took him to court? She's had months to make changes and figure this out, and was probably counting on being able to freeload off of you indefinitely. You need to get her out of your home now. Alexis will stay until you push her out of the door. Don't be deterred from your timeline, no matter how big her tantrums get. My younger sister, 20, told me recently that she's pregnant with her boyfriend's nearly adult baby. My initial reaction was pure shock. I then called my mother and asked her what she thought. She and I agreed that my little sister is not the most responsible, and we both morally decided that the situation was screwed up. I don't think the rest of my family's taking the situation as seriously as it should be, nor do I think they've thought of all the outcomes that could come out of this. I've realized that I cannot support her in this decision and the pregnancy. Does that make me a bad person? I just don't see how I can support this, with baby's daddy being a high school student and my sister just getting a full-time job as a high school dropout. I don't believe that my sister's ready for children, and I don't believe that the baby's daddy wants to be a father at this time. She's just turned 20 in September, and they met at her old job. They've known each other for less than a year and refuse to use protection. His parents are unaware of the pregnancy at this time, and my parents don't feel it's their responsibility to tell his parents. The police have already been involved in the relationship in the past, before the pregnancy announcement. My sister lied and told them that they weren't together. I believe legal action will be taken eventually if the police find out and if the baby's daddy's parents find out. Am I the idiot for not supporting my sister's pregnancy with the circumstances surrounding the situation? Edit. The age of consent in my location is 18 years of age. No, it doesn't make you an idiot. You are entitled to your opinion, and you shouldn't be judged for thinking logically. Your sister might not fully understand what life will look like after a child. Losing friends, jobs, and finances is going to be a huge hurdle. Are the paternal grandparents game to babysit when the maternal ones are tapped out? I feel like she's assuming everyone's on board to help, but are they? OP, your story gives me the feeling that your parents rug sweep a lot when it comes to your younger sister. It's a shame that enabling just messed her up for life. I tell the boy's parents and distance myself from the whole thing. Just know that your family might blame you for it. I try to be as anonymous as possible about this. Agreed. His parents need to know, now. Regardless, he's a kid. Your sister will most likely name him as the dad. His parents will be responsible for child support. Please don't let this blindside them. Your family, especially your sister, is delusional. 4 years ago, I married my now husband, who has a son. His son is 24 years old, and his university graduation was last Monday. My relationship with his son is not strong, considering I married his father when he was away at university. However, we are on good terms of mutual respect. I'm always present at his important events, and he was always present for mine. His graduation was supposed to be not this past Monday, but the Monday before, so 2 weeks ago, but it got postponed for this past Monday. The problem was my childhood best friend, who's like a sister to me, had a birthday this past Monday, and she was traveling the night of her birthday, so we had the birthday party in the afternoon. I'm also one of the party organizers, and this girl is the closest person to me, even closer than my husband. I couldn't leave her at the same time. It was the graduation that suddenly got postponed while I already had plans. Knowing this, I texted my stepson, saying that I'm sorry I wouldn't be able to show up, and congratulated him on his graduation, and he responded nicely. My husband was annoyed and wanted me to skip the birthday to attend the graduation. I told him I couldn't, and that it wasn't my fault the graduation got postponed. I also said we were hosting a graduation party for his son and his friends at the house. I am coming, so I'm still celebrating with him. It's just not on the official day, but that's because I have my plans too. The graduation got changed. If I had known before that the graduation would be this past Monday, I would have asked my friend to have the party after she returned. She wouldn't have declined that because she wanted me to be present as much as possible. But we already organized everything and invited everyone. We just couldn't cancel this at the last minute. His graduation party came. I gave him his gift and congratulated him again. And he looked fine, but his father, and his mother too, kept side-eyeing me the whole night, like I was a criminal for not throwing away every plan I had. My husband still gives me crap for it. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The graduation was suddenly postponed to a day where you had impromptu plans already confirmed. Plus, you still hosted a graduation party for your stepson. I'm not sure your husband understands that it isn't just your plans, but the plans of your best friend, who was traveling the night of her birthday. It's not right to impose on others' plans just because your plans have changed. Yet, this seems to be what your husband thinks is appropriate. I think you were caught in a no-win situation. Darned if you do, darned if you don't. All of this. But to me, the key point is that the stepson was okay with it. OP married his dad when he was 20. He probably met OP in his late teens. OP and stepson are probably just friendly adults/friends, which is acceptable in this situation. Yet dad wants to push this idea of one big happy family. Most likely, the stepson didn't care too much about OP coming to begin with. It seems like dad is overcompensating or projecting here. He may be overly concerned about everyone meshing, or perhaps he feels unsupported being without his wife during such a milestone. It doesn't read like this is the son's gripe at all. OP, you had existing plans. Later on, you helped throw a party for the graduating fellow. You congratulated him and gave him a gift. Enough is enough. Your husband and graduated guy's parents need to get over it and quit giving you the side eye.